once again to my show, The Gangster of the Constitution, hosted by Christine Timmon on the most wonderful WHPR TV 33, the station of the future. What's going to be said on this show will set what we're going to do in the future. So I thank them for being here with this wonderful opportunity. Now, my show is a subsidiary of the Jewels of Knowledge media production, which I stopped doing about 15 years ago. But now that the word Constitution is being finally mentioned on the Hill, now I can come out with all my knowledge. Now, those who watched me last month, or of course we're on demand, you heard me or saw me presenting all of my credentials, because some of the things I'm going to say, you just simply are not going to believe it because of the way that my community has been put down for the past 53 years. So if I come up talking about I got gold seals from President George W. Bush, Clinton signed all my welfare and drug reform laws, this one gave me that, I got congressional awards and gubernatorial awards from England, y'all think I'm crazy. So that's why I showed you last week who I am and what I'm about and what I have done and what I can do and what I'm going to do to help America come back to being America. As I told you last week, technically, we're not even America. And the reason I tell you that is because Congress has not done not even one law that's in the Constitution for 53 years. So we'll get into that later, but just to make sure you know who I am and what I'm about, this was my trip to D.C. in 2015. I had a police escort, and we sat there all day, they did, and waited on me while I went into Congress and gave them a word or two. Both sides of the spectrum got a word or two about how Americans are being mistreated. Now, I'm going to have to put on my glasses right now to read what we're going to talk about. Well, some of the things I'm going to tell you, you're just simply not going to believe it. But believe what I'm telling you. We're concerned about the immigration status. And I see the immigrants running up and down the street talking about they here to stay, and you know, Congress belongs to them. And then on the other side, you've got the Black Lives Matter. Well, both of you, I can tell both of you, running up and down the street, calling them white racists and white supremacists and bigots, they ain't gonna get you any money. You wanna get some money? There are about 7 clauses in the Constitution that gives both sides their rights. Once you learn these clauses, instead of marching and screaming, march and hold up those constitutional laws. Because, see, nobody's seen them in 53 years. The thing that gets you your rights and your power, they took that from you. And the immigrants always talking about people are racist and all of that. It's about bigotry. It's not. It's about someone took the constitutional rights from everybody in the world under the U.S. constitutional laws has the right to come to America. But if you don't come under the constitutional laws, if the federal government bring you, it's the same as human trafficking, because they haven't gotten now one law to bring anybody. And what they do, they human traffic these people over here for 53 years for the votes and to keep a war going on in America. That's what it was mostly about. And we said back in the day when they first started doing it, we said that it was nothing but a 50-year Democrat plan to take over America. And if you think I'm kidding, you need to start Googling stuff like Senator Joseph McCarthy, the U.S. House Un-American Activities Act, the Hollywood 10. Those were all the leading communists of those days who wanted to take over the Constitution so they could take over America. And that is what they did. We used to all say they never would make it, but as you can plainly see, they made it. I need a sip, please. They made it. And now the immigrants, we have to pay them taxes under the U.S. Immigration and Naturalizing Act. It never was ratified by the states. When you read the Constitution, and this is when I want you to pull up on your computer, I want you to pull up Article 1, Section 9, or if you have a book like mine here, go to page 7 under Article 1, Section 9, and we're going to highlight. I told y'all last week to have highlighters, or last month, whenever it was. You highlight the first 19 words. It says, the migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit. It say the states. It don't say village. It doesn't say city. It don't say town. It don't say Congress. And it does not say the United States. Then when you go over to Amendment 14, back in the amendment, this is stuff we had to learn in elementary school or else. Amendment 14, it goes on in the last clause. It starts with, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of the law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. That's what that means. If you come here from another country, no state can deny you due process of the law. Now, each state can have its own due process. For 400 years, until 1965, most states, the process was to have a sponsor. It could be a job or a person or a school. Or if you had enough money, you could pay the state to sponsor you. Then you got your passport. You had to have some sort of sponsor to get your passport to go to that one state. Once you got there and were registered, then you couldn't be deported from that state because you were a legal resident of the state. After you were sworn in, even if you didn't swear to be a legal resident, once you got registered, you were home free in that one state for whatever time you paid for or signed up for. Well, they decided to stop doing that and just let people come as they will. And so now that's why you see so many people coming across the border and just swearing that they got the right to be here and stay here under federal law. But here's what that says. When you go back to Amendment 14, Section 1, Clause 1, it says, all persons born or in the United States, got to be born in the United States, and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens. So if you were born in another country, you can't be a citizen of the United States because you were not subject to their jurisdiction. If you were born in Yemen or South of Nicaragua or whatever, you are in the jurisdiction of where you were born. So you can't just walk up into any and every state of the United States. You got to get permission from the one state that you want to go to, from somebody, that doesn't matter who it is, and that's got to be what you use for your passport if you want to come for immigration. So that's why they had to set a way. Oh, the founding fathers wasn't stupid. They set a way for everybody who came to America to be accepted. But that way was set under the U.S. Constitution for the people and also for the states. It even goes on to say in Amendment number 10 it tells you, go back over here to number 10, the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited, I can't really see, by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. That means if the people don't like the immigration process that the state does, they can do a referendum and throw what the states say out and do it their way. See, that's what the Constitution is about. It's about the people. That's why they took it out of the schools. See, I learned all this stuff in elementary school, right in Detroit, Michigan, at Scripps Elementary School, and I went on further when I grew up to go to Thomas M. Cooley Law Library just to read, because when I grew up, the government was not doing the Constitution. So when you go to Amendment number 11, it does not even allow the federal judiciary to have anything to do with citizen and subject of foreign states against any of the United States. It says, the judicial power of the United States shall not be construed to extend to any suit in law or equity commenced and prosecuted against one of the United States by citizens of another state. So if you live in Oregon, you can't sue somebody in Iowa. You have to go to your respective courts. Or by citizens or subject of any foreign state. That's Amendment number 11. It's back in this book. It's on page 24. You need to highlight citizens or subject of any foreign state. So when you see the federal court passing all this stuff for non-citizens and letting them get your entitlement programs, put you out of work, they can't do it. Oh, they can do it, but you can stop them. We're going to get to that before the show goes off. I'm going to tell you how to stop them. I can do it by myself, technically, but that means that I would have to sue the president if he didn't feel like doing it. I think this one would, though. So now, when you want to talk about the money that they get, keep in mind now, they are not citizens. Even the ones who think they got citizenship after 1965, it is not worth the paper it's written on, because they came under federal law. Federal law does not supersede the Constitution. The Constitution is supreme law of the entire United States. The federal laws, their laws are supreme over the states and the cities, as long as they're doing it on behalf of the Constitution. So when they took away the state's power to bring their own immigrants and started doing themselves, technically they can't do it. It's called sedition and treason. That's what Congress has been doing for 53 years. And they make it easy for them to become citizens. See, back in the day when the people came from overseas, they had to go to school and learn. Nowadays, they give them flashcards with the answers on it and then be running around talking about how smart the immigrants are and see how they pass all them tests. I guess they did when you gave them all of the answers. Here they are right here. I'll read you a couple of them. That means glasses. Okay. Okay. Pick a good one here. What is the name of the, question 98, what is the name of the national anthem? You just look over here, the Star-Spangled Banner. When do we celebrate Independence Day? July the 4th. See? Why does the flag have 50 stars? All the answers are on the back because there's one star for each state. You see what I'm saying to you? Everything is on these flashcards. They got 100 of them. And all they got to do is give them the flashcards, and then when they take the test, you can bring them with you. So that's why it's easy for them to become citizens, but they're only citizens under the U.S. Immigration Naturalizing Act. They are not citizens under the U.S. Constitution because they didn't go through Article 1, Section 9. You remember say you have to go through the states. You got to register and do all that. Then they absolutely did not go through Amendment 14 for due process and swearing in and all. Didn't go through none of it. The way you become a real citizen, the state is supposed to send your registration and your swearing in to the United States Naturalized Division with a check. That's in Article 1, Section 9. It says, let's go back, I think it was on page 9, 7 or 9. Here it is. It says, a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation not exceeding $10 for each person. Well, on today's how you calibrate the rate exchange, now that would probably be about $300. And so that's in Article 1, Section 9. It tells you each state that registers these people have to pay for them. And that's why the state charged money for every process. You have to pay to register. You have to pay to be vetted by the state. You have to pay for a state work visa. And when you want to be sworn in, you got to pay for all that because the state got to send the United States a check. Oh, they stopped doing all that, so don't do that. Just walk on across the border. So you say, well, who did that? President Lyndon B. Johnson and Tip O'Neill and the Democrat Congress. You got to understand, they ran the country for almost 40 years. They were the leaders. Republicans, they can run their mouth, but that's all. Senator McCarthy, he used to run his mouth. You know, he even arrested the Supreme Court when they first started to do this to the American people. Because when they wrote the Immigration Naturalizing Act, you have to pay them tax now. Oh, they can get on all of your entitlement programs. Just Congress give them all of your money, and that's why we're in our situation. But you say, well, how can they do that? I'm going to tell you now they can't do that. Read the Constitution again. The Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes, dues, imposts, and excises to pay debts. We do not owe a debt to foreign citizens, and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. Do you hear me? Did you hear me say non-citizens? No, you did not hear that. What that means is Congress in the United States, they are prohibited by constitutional law from giving one dime to foreigners. So what did Johnson and them tell us? They said, well, don't worry, we're not stealing your money. We're not stealing your money, we're only borrowing it. And you will get it back in an income tax refund with interest. We haven't received a dime. And that is why I filed a claim in U.S. District Court. It's quite a bit of money, so I'm not going to tell you how much it is. But the case number is 14-CV-62937. So I'm about to to wrap up here. The money goes so quickly, but I got to read you one more in Article 1, Section 9. It says, no money shall be drawn from the Treasury, but in consequence of appropriation made by law. They mean the Constitution, not this stuff that Congress makes up to take your money. And then they're supposed to make an accounting of it and let you know what they spent. So in other words, in order to give foreigners money, they have to write it in a bill so you know they're even doing it. And Article 3, Section 3 says, levying war against the United States is giving aid and comfort to the enemy. So that's treason and sedition. That's what Congress has been doing. And this is why I'm trying to tell the young people, especially Black Lives Matter, stop running up and down the street with them stupid signs. My number is, she's going to tell me my new phone number.
586
586
675
675
4563.
4563, and I will show you how to take down Congress. You can't take them down talking about them. You can't do that. This is what they're afraid of. If you think that all of Congress just about don't know Christine Tillman, you are wrong. President Clinton signed my welfare reform bill that stopped all of the French Connection, all them. Oh, they all know me. Believe it. And I told Schumer off, too, for when those people got killed after he let those Yemen people in here. And I'm sick of that, too. So I'm about out of time. So I need the Black Lives Matter, and I need the immigrants to give me a call to find out how to use the Constitution. If they use the Constitution, they can't be deported. But all that stuff they saying on the street and screaming, talking about somebody a bigot, that's not going to get you anywhere. So anyway, it's time to wrap up the show. I wanted to say more, but you heard enough to get you started to saving your own life. And I want some calls from the Black Lives Matter and some lead of the immigrant community, because otherwise I can't. You ain't gonna get nowhere. And I'm not some erudite airhead. That's why I read you the stuff, because you wouldn't believe it otherwise. So I'm signing off the show for today. It's going to be on demand on YouTube, and so I appreciate you. And also the station WHPR TV 33. They've opened the door to the future. This is the future that you're hearing. So thank you very much. Signing off. I am a subsidiary of the Jewels of Knowledge television show, meant to entertain you with the truth and move you to the future. Goodbye.